Here's a plain script. If I ask you right now, what's the biggest mistake English learners make? You'd probably say something like not knowing enough vocabulary or bad grammar. But that's not it. The biggest mistake is much bigger than that, and almost everyone makes it without realizing. The mistake is this: treating English like a subject to study instead of a skill to build. Think about how you learned English in school. Vocabulary lists, grammar rules, verb tenses, tests. Everything was structured like history or math. Memorize the information, pass the test, move on. And that approach works fine for subjects where knowing the facts is the whole goal. But language isn't a subject. It's a skill, and skills don't work that way. You wouldn't learn to swim by reading a book about swimming strokes. You wouldn't learn to play piano by memorizing music theory. You'd get in the water. You'd sit at the keys. You'd fail, adjust, and try again. Skills are built through repetition and use, not through information intake. But almost every English learner spends 90% of their time on input, reading, watching, memorizing, studying grammar, and maybe 10% actually using the language. That ratio is backwards. It should be flipped. Here's why this mistake is so sneaky. Studying feels productive. You finish a lesson, you feel like you accomplished something. You can see your vocabulary list getting longer. It gives you a sense of progress. Speaking practice, on the other hand, feels uncomfortable and slow, and it's hard to measure. So learners naturally gravitate toward what feels safe and productive, even though it's not what actually builds fluency. This is why you can meet someone who scored high on English tests, who can explain grammar rules perfectly, who has memorized thousands of words, and yet they freeze up in a real conversation. Their brain has a library of information, but no practice actually retrieving and using it in real time under pressure. The fix isn't complicated, but it does require breaking a habit. Shift your ratio. Study less. Use more. If you're spending an hour a day on English, spend less of it on passive study and more of it actually producing a language, speaking out loud, writing sentences, having conversations, even talking to yourself. Treat mistakes as part of training, not as failures. Athletes don't stop practicing because they miss a shot. Every attempt, even a bad one, is training data for your brain. Simulate real use as often as possible. Describe your day out loud in English. Argue an opinion out loud. Explain how to cook something. The goal is to force your brain into production mode, not recognition mode. And measure your progress differently. Don't just ask, how many words do I know? Ask, how easily can I actually use what I know in real time without stopping to think? Because here's the core truth. Understanding English and using English are two separate skills. Studying builds understanding. Practice builds use. And fluency lives entirely in the second one. The people who get fluent the fastest aren't the ones who study the most. They're the ones who use the language the most, mistakes and all. Flip your ratio and everything changes. Want to be notified when Claude responds?